Hey, it's Nay, and welcome back to Scented Nay. So today, we're going to talk about overconsumption and the holidays because Black Friday is literally this week, and then we're going to head rush into Christmas. So grab a little drink, a little snack, because I do think this is an important topic. But I also want to be a little bit of the balancing act because on social media, you have people, content creators that either swing dramatically one way or dramatically the other way. So let's jump right into it. I really think that the holidays is a time for enjoyment of your family, your friends, yourself, a time where I think as a society we've decided to dedicate to a break, if you will, right? What do I mean? So obviously a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people have either going to get off early or they're going to have some time off, and that could potentially be time you could take for yourself. I also think there's a lot of stress on spending a lot of money on people that you love, right? And I'm not here to, come for you for your pockets, because I feel like there is polar opposites currently going on in social media. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't feed into it too at one point, where overconsumption is like the norm, right? You'll see people with 1,000,000,001 thing of the same product, or you'll see people with one or two things of that same product, and that's supposed to be good for an extremely long time. And I just think I see both sides as extremes, and whatever side you decide to be on, that's your business. But I do want to sit here and offer up an alternative of the middle, right? Nothing per se is 100% bad for the most part. It's all about moderation. And I feel like that should be the vocabulary word of 2026. Moderation. You are allowed to have things. You're allowed to have nice things, cheap things, whatever is in your budget. You are, in fact, allowed to have that. You're allowed to do whatever the heck you want. But I think that there does need to be a cap. Do we need 62 blushes? The answer is no. The answer is, in fact, you don't need 62 blushes. You don't really need 30 blushes. You don't really need blush, period. But in taking out of the quite literal term of need, to be able to build a look, right, these days, quite honestly, there's so many, and I'm going to get a little specific here, although I'm not really telling you this is how you have to do it. You can get you something like, let me show you, the crayon case blush binder, and never buy another blush probably for 15 years. The amount of product that comes in a makeup product is actually insane, and is almost built for you to either waste or to use past its expiration date, and thus potentially put yourself at risk. I'm not going to tell you when I bought this blush binder. It's been a long time. And I use this blush binder very often, and there's some dents in here, but it's not a lot, right? And yet I have other blushes. Why? These are the things I'm talking about, right? And like I said, I'm not excluding myself out of this. Now, does that mean I should never own a blush a day in my life because I don't need it? Let's slow down. We're not on this planet just to work and be home. Unless that's something you like to do, because I know there's people that are like that. It's okay to have some pleasures in life, and the pleasure in life doesn't always have to be just go for a walk. Just stare at the woods, because I'm seeing such a dramatic polarization of opinions on what you should be allowed to do or what you should do, and that would make you a good person, a good human being, a good anything. Listen, moderation is key. I just posted a video where I was talking about how you can go about buying people gifts while still keeping it budget friendly. Now, of course, I don't know your budget specifically, but what I do know is you do not have to spend $100, $200, $80, $60 on each person that you love in order to show you love them. You really don't even need to spend any money. Period. Really, right? I discussed talking with them about let's not buy any presents at all this year, or let's only buy presents for the kids type of energy, and instead just enjoy each other's company. And I think that's a very valid and acceptable response if you don't have the money. Putting yourself in more debt just for clicks, just for image, just for any of that nonsense is ridiculous and not necessary. I'm not saying that's an attack on you. I'm saying that if you needed someone else to say that, I just said it. Now, do I think... I also low-key have some beef with the whole super, like, capsule people, right? Like, you only need one pair of jeans, one pants, and one skirt, and 3 shirts, and 2 scarves, 1 hat, 2 gloves, 4 socks, 6 panties, 2 bra. And that's all you need to survive. Honestly, listen. I don't think sometimes rewarding yourself for being on this planet and doing what you need to do is that terrible of a thing. I mean, some people at one point in time was chilling on this floating rock and said, let's make most people's lives miserable so that we in fact can have most while they have little. And we are the little and they are the most. So, I kind of feel like sometimes feeding into that capsule and very minimal thing feeds into that so that they can keep being greedy. So it's just this really difficult spot to navigate. Let me know what you guys think on that. Also, let me know what you think on this little microphone. I actually bought this, I believe, last year. And I keep seeing a lot of people with microphones, and I think that's what prompted me to buy it last year. But, guys, I think I like the way it sounds. Let me know what you guys think. But I also think I talk really loud. Like, when I get excited, my voice, like, the volume goes up, and then it's like, and y'all know I'm not big in editing like that. Anyway, that was a little sidebar. But I do think that you are entitled to have nice things or even things that you can afford. And when you hear about, like, oh, if you want to have things for a long time, they have to be quality, I also think that's false information. I'm not here to tell you to go buy off of certain websites, but I do have things from certain websites that I bought when I met my boyfriend, who is now my husband, that we bought together, or he bought for me, I should say. And I still have them, and they were not the best quality, right? They're not like 100% organic, 100% natural things, but they've lasted me, right? So there's a lot of ways you can go about life. And of course, what you have in your pockets to even spend is very, very, like, real and will really stop you from being able to live the life that you might want to potentially live. And I don't want you to live in this state of, I'm not there, I'm not really living, I can't do this. In order to be like this, I have to think like this, I have to move like this. Overconsumption is bad. Stressing yourself in underconsumption is also, I don't think, much better. It's almost giving a different thing that I don't really want to get into on this video, but I do think that you can have a fragrance. You can have multiple fragrances. Do you need the collection I have? Absolutely not. And that's why I'm dwindling down my collection, right? I've been doing it for about a year. I gift some of my fragrances. Of course, I've talked about this in the other video. You don't want to be gifting someone 1/3 of a fragrance, right? Or half a bottle of a fragrance, unless they actually are cool with that. And that's been like a pre-discussed conversation. But listen, I think there comes a point where enough is enough, and you have to find for yourself when that enough is, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say, to try to kind of bundle this up before I move on, is that I think that moderation is something that society has not taught us to be moderate. It's taught us that you need to live in extremes, extremely hot or extremely cold. You cannot just be nice and warm, nice and toasty warm, right? Because that just isn't something you're physically capable of doing, and it is. So whether you're coming from this extreme overconsumption, right, and you're learning to consume less, and sometimes that does look like buying things that are a little bit better quality or significantly better quality because they maybe last longer or they are better for you or whatever the case may be. Really look at it from your standpoint, because I feel like both standpoints are just trying to feed into this narrative of this is how you need to be in order to keep it moving, right? Both sides are always trying to sell you something. I made a video the beginning of this year or end of last year where I was like, you don't need another fragrance, or you have enough, something to that nature, because you might surprise yourself if you feel like, right, you have an event and every single time you have an event you have to buy a new outfit. That's a situation you need to figure out. And I do feel like that low-key might be a small cultural thing too, but why do you feel like every time you go somewhere around people that you've been around before, they have to see you in something new? Ooh, sit there and think about that for a minute. I will read, let's say, 10 books 2 to 3 times a year whilst reading another 60 books or whatever, right? Like there are 10, maybe 10 to 20 books that I'm absolutely obsessed with, and I will keep rereading those books a couple times a year, every year. So why on earth, if I could do that with a book, knowing exactly what's about to go down in this book and still giggle, kick, and scream, will I not do that with clothes? Guys, let's keep using things till the wheels fall off, right? And I do think that's almost like a quote unquote lost art. I also find it interesting when people I don't know or just met or whatever find out about hobbies I have. And I've had people in my face be like, oh, you got grainy hobbies? First of all, being able to bake is something I feel like most you should be able to do, right? I've heard too many grown adults say that they would burn water. I think survival skills, which I feel like is a lot of these quote unquote granny hobbies, to be able to sew, to be able to crochet, knit, to be able to amend things, to be able to cook, to be able to keep your space like able to be lived in safely, a bunch of different things. It's just something that it takes effort, just like everything else. And because things have become so easy to just do or to go and get outside of the home, it's almost like, why bother? I think having a hobby is super important. Oh my gosh, I've talked about that before, and I'm going to talk about it again with my mic. But I think hobbies are important. I think over-consuming is really one of the root causes, if not the main root cause, is in fact boredom or lack of fulfillment, right? So you keep buying things in order to fulfill this need, when having a hobby that's for you could be a really good thing. Gardening, maybe. And I think what's really cool about some hobbies is that sometimes those things actually give you something else on top of giving you something to do with your time and fulfilling that empty void. It also could have an end result. Like for example, gardening, right? You're going to sit there and grow these plants. Months later, you're going to pick up and have carrots and tomato and potato and squash and pepper, beets, garlic, onion, cheese. Now you have something for cook with. So now you have these cute little you have nice looking produce, and now you could cook with it. And what do you gain from being able to cook with stuff outside of having fresh ingredients? You now just save some money, sort of. Obviously, because it costs money to start up these things, right? So in the long run, you might find you save money. It's just a byproduct. I wouldn't necessarily sit there and garden to save money, because though it goes about the way there's a lot of things in that we can't get into. Baking, it takes time. You might bake chocolate chip cookies 27 times before you find a recipe and a way you go about that recipe that hits. And then you bake it once a week, every week. Because what on earth is this deliciousness? What? And it doesn't always have to be about like, oh my gosh, they're trying to end us and they're trying to make us sick or whatever. I mean, it could be, but it doesn't have to be. It could just be for funsies. And then you get to eat a delicious cookie as a result. I guess I'm saying all of these things to say that there's probably a lot of reasons why you over consume or under consume, and you figuring out why might be worth it. And if you have to sit there and try to convince yourself, I guess I can say I have parents, right? One I would consider a little bit of an overconsumer, and the other one is a direct polar opposite, where she has to convince herself she's allowed to get a little bottle of wine, right? Because she did 42,000 things in the week. And it's just very interesting to say, can we find a happy medium? And that's where I guess I'm trying to be. And I think a lot of us are starting to hit that realization that there is a happy space in between. Your birthday comes and you want to buy yourself something nice, which ultimately I feel like the holidays is that, right? Every day of the year you should, or every week of the year, you do not need to be buying yourself something brand new. And so you have things like Valentine's Day and Easter and Thanksgiving and Christmas and your birthday and all these other holidays, if you celebrate it or not, that's your business, right? They remind you sometimes to stop and smell the flowers. And sometimes that smell of the flowers is a new fragrance or a new lipstick or like a lotion. You know what I mean? And I'd be interested in your guys' opinions of this, because I think that is something that we are working our way towards as a society, at least as a certain generations, right? And I think it's definitely feasible. It's going to take time, but I think swinging the pendulum either way, too far either way, is not good. Yeah, anyway, let's talk about down in the comment section, because the holidays are coming. And I wouldn't stress, last quick thing with this Black Friday thing. I don't feel like you should. Black Friday is only useful if you are waiting to buy stuff, right? Let's say you use a certain lipstick. Perhaps she's expensive, or mascara, or you need a new TV, or, or you bought a new house and you wanted to fill up some spots and stuff like that. That's where you truly have savings, right? Because we're not going to talk about how they're marking up stuff to mark it fake down, but that's a whole nother conversation. But that's where you truly start having an actual savings, because you were going to buy it anyway. You needed that anyway, or you really wanted that anyway. And I think delayed gratification is something that sometimes it's good to practice and will really make you appreciate what you have. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. If you watched this whole video, even a portion of it, I truly appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like button, that subscribe button, and that new hype button. Hype. And I know I look like I'm ready for the holidays. I've been ready since a week and a half after Halloween. Anyway, hopefully I see you in my next video. Y'all stay safe out there.